on the frozen planet of Glacius Prime, where the air was biting cold and the ground was a sheet of ice, the annual Frosty Tournament was about to begin. The Deathworlders, towering and powerful beings with thick fur and immense strength. It was not just a competition, but a celebration of creativity, strength, and skill. This year, however, something unusual was about to happen. Humans had entered the tournament. The Frosty Tournament was simple. Each participant had to create the largest and most impressive snow creature. These creations were judged on size, detail, and a final test of endurance against the harsh winds of Glacius Prime. The Deathworlders excelled at this tradition, effortlessly sculpting massive, intricate figures out of the snow and ice. For centuries, no outsider had dared to challenge them. The humans, led by a young engineer named Clara, were new to Glacius Prime. Their colony ship had landed on the icy planet months ago, and they had been struggling to adapt to the extreme conditions. When the Deathworlders invited them to participate in the tournament, many humans laughed at the idea. Competing against beings twice their size and strength seemed impossible. But Clara saw an opportunity. "We may not be as strong as the Deathworlders," Clara told her team, "but we have our own strengths. Let's show them what humans can do." On the day of the tournament, massive snowdrifts and blocks of ice were scattered across the field, ready to be transformed. The Deathworlders started immediately, lifting huge chunks of ice with their bare hands and carving them with precision. Some sculpted fierce snow beasts with sharp fangs and claws, while others created towering warriors with shields and swords made of ice. The humans, on the other hand, worked differently. Claire and her team brought tools, including shovels, ice saws, and even a small hoverlift they had modified to move heavy snow. They started by building a sturdy base, carefully packing the snow and reinforcing it with water that froze instantly in the cold. As the structure grew, they used the hoverlift to stack blocks of ice and carve intricate details. The Deathworlders watched with curiosity and amusement. "Humans are so fragile," one of them said, chuckling. "How can they hope to compete with us?" Clara ignored the comments and focused on her work. She had a vision, a giant snow phoenix, its wings spread wide and its head held high. Her team worked tirelessly, sculpting feathers and adding icy details that sparkled in the sunlight. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, the phoenix stood tall, glimmering like a beacon in the icy wasteland. As the judging began, the Deathworlders presented their creations. Each one was impressive, showcasing their raw strength and artistic skill. The judges, a panel of elder Deathworlders, nodded in approval as they inspected the massive snow sculptures. Finally, it was the humans' turn. Clara's team stood nervously as the judges approached their snow phoenix. The elders circled the sculpture, their expressions unreadable. They tested its strength by pushing against it. They admired the intricate details, from the delicate feathers to the lifelike eyes made of polished ice. Slowly, the elders began to nod. When the judges announced the results, the crowd erupted in cheers and gasps. The humans had won second place. While they didn't take the top prize, their achievement was historic. Never before had outsiders come so far in the Frosty Tournament. The first place winner, a Deathworlder named Thrag, approached Clara after the ceremony. "You humans are more impressive than I thought," he said, offering a massive fur-covered hand. "Your phoenix was magnificent." Clara shook his hand, smiling. "Thank you." It was a team effort. The Frosty Tournament had brought the two species closer together. The Deathworlders gained a newfound respect for the humans, and the humans felt more at home on Glacius Prime. For Clara and her team, the tournament was more than just a competition. It was a chance to prove that even in the harshest conditions, creativity and teamwork could triumph. As the humans packed up their tools and prepared to leave the arena, Clara looked back at the snow phoenix, its icy wings glowing under the planet's twin moons. She smiled, knowing this was just the beginning of their story on Glacius Prime. The icy winds of Frosthaven swept across the barren plains, carrying a sense of mystery and adventure. Frosthaven was a planet blanketed in eternal snow, home to the Deathworlders, a race of powerful beings adapted to the extreme cold. Every winter, they held a grand festival to celebrate their survival in the harsh environment. The highlight of the festival was the creation of giant snow soldiers, towering figures made from snow and ice. These snow soldiers were not ordinary sculptures. They moved and fought, powered by an ancient energy that no one fully understood. For centuries, the Death Worlders believed the snow soldiers were animated by their sacred traditions and chants. This year, however, a group of human settlers, new to Frosthaven, discovered that the truth might be far more complex. Among these settlers was Ethan, a curious engineer with a knack for uncovering hidden secrets. Ethan had always been fascinated by the snow soldiers. Unlike the Death Worlders, who accepted their movement as a miracle, Ethan wanted to understand the science behind it. During the festival preparations, he spent hours observing the Death Worlders as they built their snow soldiers. The Death Worlders packed snow into massive shapes and embedded strange glowing crystals into the chests of the figures. Once the crystals were in place, the snow soldiers would slowly come to life, their movements eerily lifelike. "What are those crystals?" Ethan asked Korak, a Death Worlder elder, during one of the festival's early days. Korak laughed, his voice deep and rumbling. "They are gifts from the gods," he said. "The crystals bring life to the snow. It has been our tradition for generations." Ethan wasn't convinced. He believed there was a logical explanation, and he was determined to find it. Late one night, while the Death Worlders celebrated around their roaring bonfires, Ethan snuck into the festival grounds. Armed with a small toolkit and a handheld scanner, he approached one of the incomplete snow soldiers. The glowing crystal embedded in its chest pulsed faintly, casting a soft blue light. Carefully, Ethan removed the crystal and scanned it. The scanner displayed unusual readings. The crystal was emitting a low-frequency energy signal, unlike anything he had seen before. Intrigued, Ethan pocketed the crystal and returned to his workshop to study it further. Over the next few days, Ethan made a startling discovery. The crystals weren't magical. They were ancient technology left behind by an unknown civilization. They contained advanced energy storage and transmission capabilities, which explained how they could animate the snow soldiers. Ethan theorized that the crystal's energy interacted with the snow's structure, creating a temporary network that mimicked muscle and joint movements. But there was more. Ethan discovered that the crystals were unstable. If overused, they could release a surge of energy, causing an uncontrollable reaction. Alarmed, Ethan decided to share his findings with Korak. When Ethan explained the science behind the crystals, Korak's expression darkened. "You mean the god's gift is dangerous?" the elder asked. Ethan nodded. "If the crystals are used too much, they could explode. It could destroy everything around them." Korak was skeptical but agreed to let Ethan present his findings to the Council of Elders. During the festival's main event, the Grand Snow Soldier battle, Ethan and Korak stood before the council and the gathered crowd. Ethan explained the crystal's true nature and the potential risks of their overuse. The Death Worlders were stunned. For generations, they had believed the snow soldiers were a divine gift. Some were angry, accusing Ethan of trying to ruin their traditions. Others were curious, asking questions about the ancient technology. Amid the chaos, a loud, crackling sound echoed through the arena. One of the snow soldiers, powered by an unusually large crystal, began to shake violently. Its glowing chest grew brighter and brighter, emitting sparks of energy. The unstable crystal was on the verge of exploding. The crowd panicked, scattering in all directions. Ethan and Korak acted quickly. Ethan rushed to the snow soldier, his scanner in hand, while Korak ordered the crowd to stay back. Ethan analyzed the crystal and realized there was only one way to stop it. He needed to remove the crystal and discharge its energy safely. "I'll need your help," Ethan shouted to Korak. Without hesitation, Korak joined him. While Ethan worked on detaching the crystal, Korak held the snow soldier's massive arms in place to prevent it from moving. The crystal's energy surged, sending shockwaves through the air. Finally, with a final twist, Ethan removed the crystal and threw it into a containment device he had brought. The snow soldier collapsed, lifeless once more. The crowd watched in silence as the danger passed. Korak turned to Ethan, his expression a mix of gratitude and respect. "You saved us," he said. "Your knowledge is a gift, too." From that day forward, the Death Worlders began to see their traditions in a new light. They worked with the humans to study the crystals and find safer ways to use them. The Frosthaven Festival continued. Instead, they became a symbol of unity between the two species, a blend of ancient technology and newfound understanding. The icy winds howled across the plains of Arctos, a world where snow and ice stretched endlessly. Here, conflicts were not settled with bloodshed, but with creativity and cunning. The great tribes of Arctos resolved their disputes through the legendary War of the Snow Kings, a grand competition where each side built massive snow armies that came to life for battle. These snow creatures, animated by ancient technology, fought to determine the winner, ensuring peace without destruction. This year, a new contender had entered the arena: humans. A small group of settlers had recently arrived on Arctos, seeking a fresh start in the galaxy. Among them was Captain Lena Drake, a former military strategist who had grown weary of endless wars. When the humans accidentally insulted one of the largest tribes, the Frostclaws, they were challenged to the War of the Snow Kings. Refusing would mean banishment from the planet, so Lena and her team had no choice but to accept. The Frostclaws were known for their unmatched skill in creating enormous and powerful snow beasts. Their leader, Thrag, was confident in their victory. "Humans are soft," he scoffed, towering over Lena. "You will regret challenging the Frostclaws." Lena didn't flinch. She knew the odds were against them, but she also believed in the ingenuity of her team. "We'll see," she replied calmly. "We may not have your strength, but we have our own ways of fighting." The preparations began immediately. The Frostclaws worked with their usual methods, carving massive creatures from blocks of ice and snow. They embedded glowing crystals into their creations, which pulsed with energy, ready to bring them to light. The Frostclaws' snow beasts were ferocious, hulking wolves with sharp claws, towering giants with icy armor, and serpents that slithered menacingly across the snowy ground. Meanwhile, Lena and her team took a different approach. Knowing they couldn't match the Frostclaws' sheer size and strength, they focused on strategy and creativity. Using their knowledge of engineering, they built smaller, more agile snow creatures. They also developed clever traps and distractions, incorporating ropes, pulleys, and even a small drone to guide their creations during the battle. As the day of the competition arrived, the arena buzzed with anticipation. The Frostclaws tribe filled the stands, cheering loudly as Thrag's snow beasts entered the field. Each creature was a masterpiece, radiating power and menace. The humans' creations, by contrast, looked almost humble: a pack of sleek snow panthers, a few nimble snowbirds, and a lone humanoid figure with a shield made of ice. The signal to begin was given, and the battle commenced. Thrag's beasts charged forward, their roars echoing across the arena. But Lena's team was ready. The snow panthers darted around the larger creatures, attacking their legs and causing them to stumble. The snowbirds flew overhead, dropping icy projectiles onto their opponents. The humanoid figure, controlled remotely, acted as a decoy, drawing the Frostclaws' strongest beasts into a trap. The crowd watched in amazement as the humans' strategy began to unfold. The Frostclaws' creatures were powerful but slow, and they struggled to keep up with the humans' agile creations. One by one, the Frostclaws' snow beasts fell, collapsing into heaps of snow and ice. Thrag, watching from the sidelines, grew furious. "They're using tricks," he roared. But even he couldn't deny the brilliance of Lena's tactics. The humans had turned the battle into a game of wits rather than brute strength. In the final moments of the battle, the humans' humanoid figure faced off against the Frostclaws' last remaining beast, a towering snow dragon. The dragon lunged forward, its icy breath freezing everything in its path. But Lena had saved her best move for last. Using the drone, she guided the humanoid figure to climb onto the dragon's back, where it placed a small explosive device made of compacted snow and energy crystals. The explosion wasn't destructive but strong enough to disassemble the dragon, leaving it in a pile of harmless snow. The arena fell silent as the last of the Frostclaws' creatures crumbled. Then, the crowd erupted into cheers. The humans had won. Thrag approached Lena, his expression a mix of anger and admiration. "You fought well," he admitted grudgingly. Your methods are unconventional, but effective. Thank you, Lena replied, extending a hand. We're not here to fight you. We just want to live in peace. Thrag hesitated, then shook her hand. Perhaps there is strength in working together, he said. The War of the Snow Kings had ended, not just with a human victory, but with the beginning of a new understanding between the two species. From that day forward, the humans and the Frostclaws collaborated, combining their strengths to thrive on the icy world of Arctos. And every year, during the festival, they fought side by side in the arena, building snow armies that celebrated unity rather than division. In the far reaches of the galaxy, on the frozen planet of Cryon, snow wasn't just cold and lifeless. On this unique world, the snow was alive. It shifted, whispered, and even formed shapes when the winds stirred. The native Deathworlders of Cryon believed the snow carried the memories of their ancestors, guarding the planet and its secrets. The humans who had recently settled on Cryon were fascinated by this phenomenon. Among them was Dr. Elena Carter, a scientist with a deep curiosity about alien worlds. When she first arrived, she noticed how the snow seemed to move with purpose. Tracks appeared in the snow without any visible source, and strange patterns formed overnight. The Deathworlders called it the living snow, and while they revered it, they warned the humans to tread carefully. One evening, as Elena stood outside her small research station, she saw something extraordinary. A wave of snow rose from the ground, swirling in the air like a ghostly figure. It moved closer, almost as if it were studying her. Before she could react, the snow settled back to the ground, leaving behind a symbol etched in the frost. Elena quickly took a picture of it and hurried back inside to analyze it. The symbol was unlike anything she had seen before. It resembled a star surrounded by curved lines, almost like an ancient map. Intrigued, Elena shared her discovery with her team. Some dismissed it as a random natural occurrence, but others, like her assistant Jake, believed it was worth investigating. What if the snow is trying to communicate? Jake suggested, his eyes wide with excitement. It's possible, Elena replied, but we need more evidence. Over the next few days, Elena and her team ventured into the icy wilderness, searching for more signs of the living snow. They set up cameras and sensors, hoping to capture its movements. The Deathworlders watched them from a distance, shaking their heads. The snow does not like to be disturbed, one elder warned. If you anger it, there will be consequences. Ignoring the warnings, Elena pressed on. One night, the sensors picked up unusual activity near an ancient glacier. The team rushed to the site, where they found a massive formation of snow and ice shaped like a towering figure. It resembled a guardian, with arms outstretched and glowing blue lights embedded in its chest. As the humans approached, the figure began to move. The team froze in awe and fear as the guardian's voice rumbled through the air. It wasn't words, but a series of vibrations that resonated in their chests. The snow around them shifted, forming patterns that matched the symbol Elena had found earlier. Jake quickly recorded the event while Elena tried to decipher the patterns. It's a message, Elena realized. It's guiding us somewhere. The patterns led them to a cavern hidden beneath the glacier. Inside, they found walls covered in glowing symbols and carvings that told the story of Cryon's past. The Deathworlders' ancestors had discovered a way to merge their consciousness with the snow, creating a living memory that protected the planet. The carvings also revealed a warning. If the balance of the snow was disrupted, it could lead to catastrophic consequences. As Elena and her team explored the cavern, the temperature began to drop rapidly. The living snow outside the cavern stirred violently, forming swirling storms that blocked their exit. It was as if the snow was testing them, deciding whether they were worthy of the knowledge they had uncovered. We need to prove we mean no harm, Elena said, her breath visible in the freezing air. She and her team carefully documented their findings without taking anything from the cavern. They placed small offerings of food and tools at the entrance, a gesture they had learned from observing the Deathworlders. Slowly, the storms began to calm. The snow outside settled, and the guardian figure reappeared, nodding slightly before dissolving into a gentle flurry. The humans took this as a sign of acceptance and made their way back to the research station. When they shared their discoveries with the Deathworlders, the natives were both surprised and impressed. "You listen to the snow," the elder said, his tone filled with respect. "You have earned its trust." From that day on, the humans and Deathworlders worked together to study the living snow. They learned to communicate with it, uncovering more about Cryon's history and the ancient technology that powered the snow's movements. The humans' presence on Cryon was no longer seen as an intrusion, but as a partnership. For Elena, the experience was life-changing. She had come to Cryon seeking knowledge, but she found something far greater, a connection to a world unlike any other, where even the snow held the memories of a forgotten past.